Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and today is September the 24th. I'm going to do your spiritual principle a day in a meditation, now available at na.org. I want to encourage you to get that meditation book along with the Just for Today in a meditation. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our H.O.O.D recovery services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and get into this meditation. The reason why I want for you to get them is because I think it's more interesting if you can just follow along while I'm reading. But if not, obviously I'm going to pull up the screens so that you can see them. Today's topic is letting love in. Wow. It is a loving act to let others love us. Living Clean, Chapter 4, Death, Dying, and Living with Grief. So I know this is going to hit home for several of you that are listening that have shared your personal stories with me. So let's go ahead and take a moment of silence before we get into it, because I want to make sure your energy and your spirit and your morning are right and ready for whatever this meditation and the God of your understanding holds for you. Moment of silence now, please. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. NA recovery allows us to accept love even when, our lives have been shattered by loss. Emotional pain makes this feel especially risky, but we take a chance, gather our courage, and lean on our fellow members. For some of you, you might need to replace that word with friends, okay? In times like these, we grow to appreciate all that recovery has to offer. Too often, pride, low self-esteem, and fear of rejection block us from reaching out or accepting help from others. Not wanting to be a burden or to appear needy, we isolate and tell ourselves that we can handle this alone. We overestimate our nuisance value and deny others the opportunity to love, support, and serve us. We're embarrassed by our pain. It's inconvenient and uncomfortable to be so vulnerable. We hide behind a cloak of self-sufficiency and independence. Of course, there's no right or wrong way to grieve. It's not unreasonable to want to spend some time alone with our thoughts and our higher power. Intense feelings of loss can make it hard to find a balance between solitude and isolation. We do our best to be honest with ourselves. Letting others love us when we're grieving helps us avoid the trap of old ideals. Accepting love, whether gracefully or begrudgingly, is in itself an act of love, and the consequences often prove astounding. My best friend relapsed and died, one member shared. I thought people didn't want to hear about how I felt, but after I shared, I got so much love and support that it truly renewed my faith in NA. It's why I'm clean today. I will trust the process, feel the pain, and allow others to feel it with me today. I will let others love me, even when I'd rather they didn't. The spiritual principle of letting love in, of allowing other people to love you. You know, I think there's a spiritual principle attached to that. that looks a lot like humility. It looks a lot like goodwill and surrender. For me personally, I think that's what it takes in order for me to allow other people to express love to me, especially when I'm hurting on a deep level. And I know that we all probably at this age by now have suffered some losses. I think some of the worst losses that we suffer are, well, it can vary, right? Every person is different. But I think some of the worst losses that we can suffer are directly connected to, for us as addicts, those individuals that we may have used with that overdosed and died, or that we've come to know, and then they go back out and they don't make it back. And sometimes what happens is they start changing in their behavior. You notice it, but you don't think it's that serious because they're staying in touch with you every day. They're not allowing you to, they're masking just how bad they're compromising their clean state. Or maybe there were some telltale signs and you didn't notice them and you're beating yourself up over that. And in these instances where we've lost a loved one, no one can tell you when grieving is going to end. We have no idea when grieving will let you go when grieving is done with you. I mean, and it could take years. For some people, it can take less than that. But for many people, even for people that I think sometimes that it takes less time because maybe they weren't very connected to the person that they lost, but maybe the person they should have been more connected. Maybe it was a parent that didn't raise them. And then later on in life, when you become a parent, it makes you very much aware of how absent your parent actually was. And it makes you very much aware of how unnatural it is for a parent not to raise their child. And then the grieving process of that parent, even though they may still be alive, you begin to grieve the loss of what should have been a very beautiful relationship. So grieving takes different forms. And the only thing that I can say about that is that the God of your understanding has put certain people in your life that love you regardless to whether you're having a good day or a bad day. And they're not going to want to let you go. They're not going to want, they won't want to let you go or disconnect from you. They'll give you your space, but they're going to be very concerned if for some reason you stop returning phone calls and stuff like that. Don't be surprised if they turn up banging on your front door because you're not picking up the phone. And they have a right to because they love you. And I want to encourage you today to let love in. Letting love in and letting people love us when we're hurting is in and of itself an act of love. I'm looking at a plaque that a man in recovery, he's no longer with us. He had a lot of health issues. And he seemed to think that alcohol was the lesser of evils, right? So he pretty much drank his liver to death. But I remember having he stayed with my husband and I for about 2 months or so. And I can remember my husband is not aggressive, right? He can be passive aggressive, but he doesn't like conflict. And I can remember this man taking his leather gloves and shaking them in my face. And I think he was just trying to be funny, right? But the words that came with that act, and I remember I was sitting in the driver's seat of my car. I was about to pull out. And he stood there running his mouth and shaking his gloves and telling me what he would do. And I think he was just really trying to be funny, but he crossed the line at some point. And I tell you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. Oh man, I went in my house and I got a kitchen knife. I'm telling you this truth. I'm telling you because it's important. And I came out and I held it to my side. He could see I didn't point it at him. He could see I had it in my hand. It was on my side. And I said, as long as you have breath, and I do mean, as long as you breathe, don't you ever, and I do mean ever, get that close to my nose, and don't you ever speak to me in a manner like that. Because today I will give you a pass, but I guarantee you the next one, your children will have to make arrangements for you. And I let that sit right there for a second. And he walked away. And I went into my kitchen and put that knife away. I was clear. He had the understanding. I went back to the back of the house where my husband was, and I told him exactly what had just happened. And he said, "What?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't think he needs to be here much longer, and I'm going to let you handle it. But I guarantee you, if you don't handle it, I'm going to." And he wouldn't even let me leave the bedroom. He got that man on the phone. And he said, "My wife is telling me such and such. Man, what's your problem?" And they were talking man to man. And he said, "Man, I was just being stupid. I was being silly. I didn't expect her to take it like that. I promise you, I love you guys. I'm so sorry. I'm sitting here crying now." This guy is like what, 6'4", 300 pounds. And he was sitting somewhere weeping because of that interaction. And my husband said, "Man, you need to apologize to my wife." He said, we love you and we love you very much, but you need to make that right with her. If you can't make it right with her, it's not right with me and you're going to have to move. And he told him that he understood. And he brought home a plaque. I'm looking at it right now. And I'm going to tell you something. When he gave me this plaque, it's called Love. And it's in all spectrums of color, all these rainbow colors. And he gave it to me. It's entitled Love. It's a black plaque. And it had all the definitions of what love is. And do you know, I accepted it, but I refused to put it on my wall anywhere. I stuck it between two Bibles. And then eventually I took it and I put it in a keep safe, like a safe. And I pushed it, I put it away and pushed it away. Eventually, he got really sick and I started trying to keep I cut his locks off and I started keeping his hair. I got a little experience with doing hair. And he trusted me to come into his home with his lady and keep his hair groomed. And yeah, so I'm just saying all of this because I do understand that sometimes letting love in, it doesn't necessarily feel the way that we think it ought to. I was trying to let his love in, but I had all of these schemas going on about conflict, about what love does and how it acts. But today I realized, now that he's dead and gone, that he was loving me and my family to the best of his ability. And after that negative interaction, things just improved over time. And I was able to let his love in. And so I'm just saying the people that you're surrounded by, they're there for a reason. And as you suffer, as you struggle with grieving, they may not have the most perfect presentation to give you of love, but give them some grace because you're not in the best space yourself right now. But these people, they do really care about you. And I believe that they're in your life for a reason. So let love in and practice the spiritual principle of humility, surrender, and goodwill. Is what I would say this meditation is about. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you, and God willing, I will be talking to you tomorrow. But in the meantime, I want for you to have a beautiful day, a productive day, a positive day, a day full of light and love and laughter on purpose. Talk to you soon.